Jason Lewis, ready to contribute, ready to fight for what's best for this country. Jason Lewis, Jason Lewis, Jason Lewis. Thank you and God bless you. Jason Lewis, Jason Lewis, Jason Lewis, Jason Lewis.
Thank you. Saddle, he wore a shining star. His job. Thank you. It's great to be in Berlin. Ist in ein Berliner. No, that's the wrong party, isn't it? I'm sorry. Thanks, Chris, for that warm introduction. Phil, Taxpayers League did a great job. Minnesota Majority did a great job. Let's hear a round of applause for those guys, huh? You know, a few weeks ago, I get a call from Phil Krinke, the Taxpayers League, and Jeff Davis at Minnesota Majority, and they did one of these, conference calls deals, and I answered the phone. They said, "Hey, Jason." I said, "Yeah." And they said, "Do you believe in free speech?" And I said, "Well, sure." And they said, "How about giving one?" So here I am, I guess, once again. Normally, I wouldn't wear an outfit like this on a Saturday, to a tax cut rally, but these guys behind us taxed the shirt off my back, and this was the only outfit I had left. These guys behind us, the politicians whom we're protesting, the liberal, the big spenders, they're starting to look at your income like Colonel Sanders looks at chickens. Speaking of that chicken, was that Joe Biden? I wanted to do my Joe Biden impersonation for you today. It goes something like this. Don't panic over the flu. No one. No, I am here as a proud Minnesota taxpayer, but I want you to know I could be just as proud for half the money. It really is amazing. This has been 10 years. 10 years we've been doing this, and look at this great crowd. What a testament to all of you for coming out today. Thank you very much. You've done a great job for us. And the Taxpayers League and the Minnesota Majority really picked up the slack because since my program went national, it's kind of hard to promote local stuff night after night like we've been doing. It isn't all a bed of roses doing a syndicated program. It's kind of humbling at times. I was in downtown yesterday, walking down the street, and a guy comes up to me and he looks at me for a second and he says, "Hey, I know you. Aren't you Jason Lewis?" Yeah, I said, "Yeah." "Didn't you run for Congress once?" Well, youthful indiscretion, yes. "Didn't you have a talk show in Charlotte, North Carolina?" Yeah. And you had a show in the Twin Cities for a while, too. I said, yeah, and I'm waiting for the big payoff. And he looks at me, pauses for a second, and says, "Whatever happened to you anyway?" So it's tough at times. It is. It is great to be here today, but I got to say, we all make sacrifices. I had to give up my Saturday golf game. Yeah, I figured that'd get a lot of sympathy. But look at it this way. It's saving my marriage. My wife said to me the other day, "Jason, if you don't give up golf, I'm going to leave you." Sure, I'm going to miss her. Actually, Lee and I were talking this morning, and I said, "Can you believe it's been 10 years? In your wildest dreams, did you think 10 years ago that I'd be back here speaking again to the tax cut rally?" And she looks at me for a second and pauses and says, "You've never been in my wildest dreams." That one kind of stung a little bit. Ladies and gentlemen, at the darkest point in the American Revolution, Thomas Paine said, "These are the times that try men's souls." Well, I'm afraid the more things change, the more they stay the same. These are the times that try men's souls. If you just take a look at what Washington is doing in nationalizing the banks, nationalizing health care, nationalizing the automobile industry, we have a crisis. This is a crossroads for America. And it's amazing how the liberals always blame the free market after they screw it up. And there is a method to their madness. They intervene in the market just enough to screw it up, and then they blame the free market, which fosters more intervention. We've had 3 asset bubbles in the last few years. We've had tech stocks, we've had housing, we had commodities, and they all burst, and they were all created by government. Every last one of them. In fact, we've got a Federal Reserve, a central bank, that's printing money like drunken sailors spend money. My apologies to drunken sailors. They don't even print it or spend it that fast. And so what happens? The money's got to find something. At first it found the tech stocks in the 1990s. That bubble burst. Then it found housing prices. And when the housing prices outpaced incomes, that bubble burst. Then it found commodities, and now that's burst. And now we're trying to reflate the bubble with something called a stimulus package. And I can guarantee you that's going to burst pretty soon, especially when they come after more of your money in taxes to fund it. And this is why liberals love a crisis. You know, Rahm Emanuel, the chief of staff for our new president, said never allow a crisis to go to waste. They exploit a crisis. They intervene in the housing market. They print money. They keep the federal funds rate down to zero, which puts more money into the economy, more money into credit. It's got to find something. It found housing prices. Then they passed the Community Reinvestment Act, which says bankers have to loan money to people who can't pay it back. And then the creme de la creme was Fannie and Freddie going into the secondary mortgage market saying, don't worry, the taxpayers will back up all those mortgages if they default. Well, guess what? They defaulted, and now we've got billions, trillions in bailouts. That's called... Now, none of that, my friends, has anything to do with the free market. A loose central bank policy, that's anti-free market. Fannie and Freddie are government creations, nothing to do with the free market. The Community Reinvestment Act, the quotas at HUD, when Andrew Cuomo was at HUD during the Clinton years, it said 40% of the money they back has to go into affordable housing, a euphemism for people who can't afford to pay back their mortgage. And now what are we doing? We're bailing out those very people that defaulted on their mortgage. Talk about inducing a moral hazard. That's it. And so when you keep substituting bailouts for bankruptcy, you get more malinvestment. And we've got so much malinvestment. In fact, we've got $4 trillion worth of malinvestment this year. It's called the federal budget of the United States of America. And I will tell you, the dirty little secret here is, when people quit loaning money to the feds at 0% treasuries or 3% long bonds, what are they going to do when they can't borrow the money on the cheap? If the economy ever turns around and people start investing, they don't want to loan the money by buying treasury bills, the federal government's got two options to fund a $4 trillion budget. They can jack up interest rates or they can raise taxes, both of which will kill any incipient recovery. I'm telling you, the days of Jimmy Carter, if you didn't live through those, you might get a second chance. Now, the good news is after Carter came Reagan. Right now, under this administration in Washington, by 2019, we will triple the national debt to 84% of our GDP. The deficit this year, I love the Democrats, our Democrat friends. We got to do something about that Bush deficit. It was $450 billion last year. You know what this year's deficit's going to be because of the stimulus package? $1.8 trillion. 13% of GDP in 1 year. That is a record. Now, we're going to triple that debt by 2019. GDP, or taxes are going to go up by $1.5 trillion, and we're going to spend 25% of the economy just at the federal level. Now, you add up what these guys behind us are going to do, and total government spending in the next few years will now account for over 40% of everything you earn. You'll be working till May just to pay off the government. Indeed, we are in Minnesota. That is what's happening in Washington. But I will tell you, it all starts here. And the best way to take back your country is to take back your state.